Welcome to Answer the Question, where I ask the question and you answer it. Sarah Connor? No. Sarah Connor? No. Sarah Connor? Why, yes, actually. You lose. Can I take what's behind door number 2? Hello, everybody. This is the Starving Martian, and today we're bringing you our first Terminator review. It's interesting that as long as I've been doing this, um, I haven't actually done any Terminator reviews yet. Kenner actually put out some halfway decent figures back in the day. They also put out some not as good figures, but what are you going to do? And the Terminator figures were quite fun, many of them. I had several of them as a kid, even though I hadn't seen any of the movies. My parents wisely didn't let me watch R-rated movies until I was like 16 or 17. There's a reason that those are rated as they are, but so I didn't get around to watching these movies till a little bit later in life, but I still had a couple of the figures. I thought they were pretty cool. They were robot people, They had endoskeletons and you know battle damage, and they were just pretty darn awesome. And so I figured I'd dig up a few from my collection and take a look-see at them. So this is Hot Blast Terminator from the Terminator 2 Future War toyline. So there was actually three separate Kenner toy lines for the Terminator. There was Terminator 2, based on the movie of the same name. There was Terminator 2 Future War. These figures, the conceit is that these figures are all fighting in that distant post-apocalyptic battle. And there were some new figures there, but a lot of them were just repaints of the previous. And then there was Terminator 3D, which was from the ride in Universal Studios, I believe it was, Orlando, Florida. And so those you could only get, down there. But you could pick them up nowadays on the internet, eBay, Amazon, etc. And those, I believe, were all just straight repaints of previous figures. So this is from the middle line, Future Wars. Came out in 1992, though, same as the regular Terminator 2 action figures did. And this is one of those figures that was in the original line, and they repainted him for Future War. And I really like what they did with the repaint here. Now, you might have noticed already, his endoskeleton isn't your typical silvery gray metal. No, he's got more of a copper or bronze look going to him, and that's pretty cool. I especially liked this guy when I was a kid because he did have a different colored endoskeleton, and in my mind, I imagine that he had like an endoskeleton made of some super rare, indestructible material. I named this guy Cooper because he had kind of a copper color to him, and he was like the main villain of my adventures as a child with these toys. And so, just to show off some of the detail, I really like what they did here. See with this screwdriver, they molded this in like really deep, so you get a real sense of depth here. That the skeleton is part of him; it's deep inside of him, and you can kind of see some really nicely sculpted details going on there. You can see where the joints would be there for the shoulders, and it all works rather well. There's his face, of course, and if you don't like the bronze, if you prefer a more classic silvery one, he was in the original Terminator 2 line with the silver skeleton, and also in the Terminator 3D. And this Terminator 3D one is pretty cool because he's got a camouflage kind of motif going. So he's got his little ammo belt there. He's got some bullet wounds on his torso. Yeah, this guy's taking some damage. He's got this tattoo here, some kind of serial number with a barcode, and yeah, all of the Terminator figures from the Future Wars, not necessarily the villains, but the Terminators, they had this tattoo and a barcode going on. That's one of the ways you know if you got a Future Wars figure or a regular Terminator 2 figures. This barcode here, by the way, I don't know what would happen if you bring it to like a grocery store and scan it. You might actually, upload Skynet to the store system, and we probably don't want that. We don't want Skynet controlling our access to our food stuff. That would be bad. That would be very, very, very bad. So, what does this guy do? What is his special feature? You know, toys from the 90s, they all had special features. Well, fortunately, this guy's special features are kept outside of the figure. And I say fortunately because there's a couple figures in the line that have spring-loaded gimmicks that I know for a fact have failed over the years. There's one called Secret Weapon Terminator that is just, you can't use it. At least the sample that I got, which, I picked up a few years ago, but it was fresh out of the package, and the spring was already broke. There's another figure we're going to be looking at probably next week, who I absolutely adore the figure, but I had to do some reconstructive surgery on him and remove one of his action features just to get it to look right, because again, the spring-loaded feature failed over the years. So I like these figures that have no gimmicks incorporated into the figure itself. So what this guy has instead, let's move him back, is this gun and backpack unit here. And this is a simple water squirter where you stick the nozzle in water, you squeeze this to soak it up, and then another squeeze will squirt the water out of the nozzle. I haven't actually used it as such. I never actually use the water gimmick on these toys because what happens is you'll never get all the water completely out of the tube or the backpack, and it's going to sit there and it's going to get mildewy and moldy and nasty and smelly, and you get black spots in the tube, and it's not cool. It's not good. You don't want that. So I never use the water squirting gimmick. In fact, I never use this backpack at all because, as you can see, it has kind of warped over the years, and it doesn't really fit him very well. It's supposed to sit on sort of like this, but you'll see as soon as I move my hand, it wants to ride up on his neck, and it looks like he's choking him. Now, fortunately, he's a cyborg, and he doesn't need oxygen the way we do, so it's not actually choking him, but it still looks very uncomfortable. And this part here just kind of clips to his wrist, and he's ready to go. It's not a bad gun, but the backpack is just unmanageable. So if I was going to display him with the gun, I would just take a scissor and cut this off right there. And I may or may not do that. The gun you saw him holding in the little skit in the beginning, and by the way, I apologize for the horrible Arnold impersonation. This little gun here actually came with the Will Robinson Lost in Space figure, who I've already done a review on. You could check that out in my backlog. But so that's his feature. And why would you want a Terminator that squirts water? Well, one of the figures that came with the original Terminator 2 line was White Hot T-1000, the evil liquid metal Terminator. And he had a gimmick where he would turn colors if you exposed him to, I believe it was ice cold water. And so you would fill this sucker up with cold water and squirt the T-1000 and make it look like you were doing some battle damage to him. And so, the two do sort of go together pretty well. Okay, he's got only 4 points of articulation here. If you want to move him around, get him in some poses. His arms can rotate. They can go all the way around. Get him to do a high five. No movement in the neck or the waist. His legs come up. You can do a good kick there. And they don't really swing back very far, though. Okay, so he's got some nice boots, I guess. Got his jeans going on and this white undershirt, which is all torn and shot up. And I think this guy looks really, really good. If you could only have one Terminator on your shelf, you only have room for one, this isn't a bad one to have, because you look at him and you automatically, oh, that's the Terminator. As I said, he does have this unusual copper coloring, but you can just as easily get either the original one from the Terminator 2 line or the 3D one from the Ride, which both have the more traditional silver endoskeleton. Alright, speaking of his endoskeleton, if you take a look at the backer board that he came on, you'll see they actually made an endoskeleton in that bronze color. So I thought that was a really nice touch. You can see the other figures in the line. And there's some of the ones from the original. Giant talking Arnie. And a couple of vehicles. Now, if you want one of these for yourself, they're pretty darn cheap. I've seen them going for like $5 to $7 plus shipping on Amazon and eBay, which isn't a bad price at all. But as I said, that's for this copper one. I don't know what the others will run you. I believe they're both a little more expensive. But if you don't mind the copper color. And like I said, if you already have a regular Terminator figure with the silver color, it's good to have this guy as an alternate look at the Terminator, an alternate design choice or material. So, and there you have it. That's the Hot Blast Terminator from the Terminator 2 Future Wars line. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this look. Like I said, I got a couple more Terminator figures hanging around, so once I dig them out, you'll be the first to know. As far as size goes, you've seen him next to these lovely ladies, but here he is again next to Hannah Dundee. She is, of course, about Jurassic Park figure size, so you can see these are big, beefy figures. You get your money's worth of plastic with these guys. And just for fun, here he is next to this little Arnold Schwarzenegger tech dude. And this guy here, shout out to Crypto Hopkins, fellow YouTuber. That's for you. You know who you are. Alright, and that's going to about wrap it up. We'll catch up with everybody next time with another review. Until then, this has been The Starving Martian. Catch you later. Bye.